Several professional fields have been influenced and altered by the coronavirus outbreak, causing a spike in unemployment as members of the workforce strive to get involved again. This week, we delve deeper into the realm of finance and how one of JSOM's alumni has managed to overcome the odds and thrive during these trying times.
This week on the Parliament Podcast.
Hello, JSOM community, and welcome to our third episode of the Parliament Podcast hosted by JSOM. I am your friendly neighborhood marketing major, Troy Murray.
And I, Trent DeStefano, are joined here today by an esteemed alumni from the class of 2009, who's a financial advisor at Northwestern Mutual and is also a co-founder of her own podcast, Dear Millennials. Please welcome Ms. Tina T. Hoang.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm so excited to chat with you guys.
It's a pleasure to have you. How are you doing?
I'm doing awesome. I'm out and about. I'm healthy, right?
Exactly, and that's all that matters most. Well, we're so glad that you can join us to kind of talk not only a little bit more about the element of finance, but also how it's ultimately helping you to create your own personal endeavors and your own personal projects to help spark professional growth as well as personal growth. So we're really glad to have you on today and for you to help represent the JSOM community in such a fashionable way. Phenomenal. So I guess we can kind of just start with our very first topic here, obviously because you do have a major background in finance. However, upon doing a little bit of research, we recently found out that you actually graduated from UTD with a degree in business administration. So I am kind of curious. So upon going back to the very beginning, what exactly made you want to come to UTD and pursue a career path in the realm of JSOM?
Yeah, so I actually have my stepfather and my sister who graduated from UTD. So I took my first year at Mary Hardin Baylor down in Belton, Texas, and wanted to play volleyball. So I kind of realized, hey, I'm a little bit too short for that to make it famous. So and student loans were very pressing. So I came back to Dallas and have always heard great things about UTD from my sister and my dad was super proud. So I think that helped a lot. And I was kind of over the freshman, get out, and I just wanted to get in, get things done, pay for school as I went to school, and UTD really allowed for that. So I really appreciated all the teachers just being super present and really caring. I think that was super helpful.
Absolutely. No, that's fantastic. And I guess another kind of follow-up to that as well. So you obviously started in business administration, right? What exactly was the key shifting point that made you want to go from business administration to finance? Because as you probably know, a lot of UTD students change their majors often. You are a prime example of that. So I'm just kind of wondering what was the most motivating factor for you to make that major shift?
Yeah, so I would say originally, I think I went to school for science. I wanted to be a biology, I wanted to be a doctor, dentist, orthodontist, because it was really life-changing for me when I got my braces off. My teeth were throwing gang signs, let's just be real here. And so it was very life-changing for me to take my braces off. And we had gone through a lot of financial hardship growing up that I eventually changed my major to business. I was always one of those people who was always I was always working, I was always trying to sell something, or I was always very entrepreneurial, and I took after my sister a lot. So I started personal training with my sister to go to school and pay for school at the same time. It really allowed for 3 hours at school, 3 hours at work, and come back at night for night school. So it was really helping her run the business at Fit 180 Dallas. It's a personal training studio. It's local to Dallas. There's 3 locations, and just seeing all the great people and helping her run that really helped drive my business degree. So that's how the business came about. And then how to kind of veer in finance was you actually have just your own independent financial practice, and I really liked the freedom and the autonomy of it. And just having a business major, enough about everything, or a lot about everything. So I think that was really helpful to give me a lot of confidence rather than just having a financial background. But if you don't know how to run a business, it's not going to work out, right? A lot of people know that. So not to shun any finance majors, I really wanted to take the 5th year program and be a finance master's, but I just was so ready to leave. So yeah, because of the financial aspect at the time.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that was just like the general premise. I think for why I jumped into the realm of business so early was mainly
Yeah,
because it was just a good starting field. Like no matter what industry you decided to go into,
exactly.
there was going to be some element of business, whether it be accounting, finance, marketing, administration,
Mhm.
qualities, entrepreneurship, and that's actually funny. And also, but we also did a little bit of further research on you as well. And Trent actually has a very close similarity to you in the sense
I
that
do.
he almost went to the very verse college, I believe. Trent, do you want to talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I almost actually went to UMHB as a biology major before I actually committed to UT Dallas.
That's hilarious. That's such a small world. It really is. Which is interesting. Anytime I get someone call me from 254, I'm like, how do you know about, Belton, Waco, like that area? So that's awesome.
No, because like I'm actually from Austin, so like you would drive through from here to Dallas all the time. So I'd always drive past Baylor, UMHB,
Yeah.
like the other Waco school, and then I was like, that's actually kind of close to home. But also, I was a freshman, and I was like, you know what, I want to be a little bit further away. So I saw UT Dallas, which again with the scholarships, I'm not sure how it was in 2009 when you
Yeah.
graduated or before that, but
Yeah.
nowadays like with the scholarships, it just helped me a lot just for paying with school and all that good stuff.
I definitely went through that same mentality. I wanted to be far enough because UNT was like going to high school all over again to me. So that's why I kind of ventured further out. And my boyfriend at the time went to Baylor. And so UTD to me wasn't far enough, right? So, but then eventually I came back, which is great experience.
So how did you find your current like position with Northwestern Mutual? Like, what made you go with Northwestern Mutual over like the other big financial companies out there?
Yeah, so I was helping my sister with Fit 180. I'm a part owner of those 3 studios, and I really loved helping people. I loved just being a really impact to their life. But there was a point in time where you're still kind of seen as little sister, and so I kind of came to a point where reflecting on my life, people graduating college were making more than I was making owning this business, and my schedule was really tied up still on the weekends and at nights and holidays. I wasn't really seeing my personal life move forward either. So I went back to my Myers-Briggs that I took at UTD with my counselor, and a couple of the jobs on there were that would be fitting to me was one personal trainer, one was a commercial a real estate agent or commercial real estate. And I was just thinking, well, I already bought my first investment property when I was like 26. I lived in it and rented it out. So I was like, okay, check that. I've been a personal trainer, right? Check that.
Right.
And commercial real estate, that's too long for me at that time of a life cycle to wait on money, right? Financially. So I was like, okay, well, I can't do that right now, but and then so financial advisor was really like at the top of my list. And my current financial advisor was at a different firm, but I didn't feel the same. I guess now that I know what I do now at Northwestern, they do different planning at that place, not to talk bad about anyone else. I
Right.
knew that I was going to be offered the job at every company, which I was. It was at that point in time when you're late 20s, you're like, I don't want to change jobs like every other millennial. Like, you want to know that who do I want to be with? And who do I want to partner with, and who's going to provide my clients the freedom and flexibility if I was my own advisor. So that's how I came to Northwestern Mutual. Yeah, hopefully that answers that question.
Yeah, no,
But
absolutely.
it does allow me the financial freedom to own a commercial property one day, right? Like, so it gives me a lot of that other things. It makes I can control my schedule, I can control my pay. So it definitely hit on those pain points of why I left my partnership. I mean, I'm a silent partner. Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. And so, I guess another kind of question that delves like a little bit deeper into that is like, were you like super set on going to Northwestern, like even before like you graduated from UTD, or like how far like into the process or like post graduation did you
Yeah.
end up becoming a part of it?
Yeah, that's actually a good question. So I actually stayed working at Fit 180 for 10 years. So in college, since I was like 19 to 29, I guess I'd stayed the whole time. But around the 7-year mark, the direction of the company was changing from the goal was to franchise at some point, right?
Hmm.
And so I was helping build the business, the operations of everything, and that goal kind of just changed a little bit to where I didn't feel like it was really me, like working for me, building something for me.
Right.
So around that time, I started to explore, and the reflection on, my personal life as well. I think, when you're hitting your late 20s, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm getting old. I need to get married, have kids. You just start to go through what you think you should be doing at that time. with the norms of society, right? But it's totally false. So it was probably around the 7, 8, 9, and then I was just like, I'm done. Like, I've got to go. And so I looked into my own financial firm first with another company, but I realized and reflected on I wasn't really treated as as important as someone who makes multi-million dollars. Right. So I was like, okay, well, I was offered the job there and I was like, no. And then these other companies, I had asked all my personal training clients, like, hey, what do you know about these companies and Northwestern? Well, they all had positive things to say about Northwestern, or they had their advisor there, or they had something there. It was just nothing negative came up for it. And so when I walked in for my interview, you guys, if you guys meet your future spouse or your first home, you have that same feeling of like, this is it. Definitely. And that's what I had when I walked in. But I did a lot of pre-screening. Like, I wanted to know my schedule was flexible. I had room to make financially what I wanted to make. I needed my boundaries and goals met to know that this was a place to stay, just like any relationship, right?
Yeah,
so
no.
It wasn't right off the bat. It was several years later.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic, actually. And kind of like going into the element too, because you said that taking part in Northwestern happened a couple of years after you had finished with your graduation plan, right? So like during the time, like soon after you were graduating, around that time period, were there any like potential options that you were weighing out, whether it be like in what career you wanted to go down, like what type of industries were you thinking about going into, and like what was the ultimate deliberation that made you specifically choose finance?
Yeah, so being personal trainer in college, it wasn't really like I thought I was gonna, part on the place. So as I was going to school, I was just training to check the box from a standpoint of like, it was easy for my schedule for school and it kept me in school, right? So when I graduated, it was like, I really love this. I saved up a bunch of money and I invested in, I was like, hey sister, I'm like really serious about this. But she wasn't going to give it to me for free. I mean, it was my blood, sweat, money, equity had to be in. So I gave her all the money I had saved from working several jobs while I was at UTD. And I was like, hey, take me seriously. Here's a huge chunk of cash, right? And she was like, oh, okay. So I really thought it was just going to be it because I was really fulfilled there. But I started to just wander based on schedule and pay. Compensation wasn't improving. And schedules, when you're in your 20s, you don't have weekends or holidays or times with friends. Like anytime you had off, which was the middle of the day, they're working, right? Anytime you had off on the weekend, you're working and they're not, like, and then anytime you're away from, you take a vacation, you're not getting paid other than their jobs they were, right? So it was very much those decisions where I was like, something's got to change here. I'm getting older and they're getting younger, making more. Like my little sister makes more than I did when I fresh out of college right now. She graduated a UT system, right? And she makes more than I do at 23 years old. When I was, I think I was making like $18,000 to $36,000 at the time. So I mean, that's pretty big. Dallas is it gets expensive, so I had to change, right? So.
Yeah, no, I totally understand that. I actually just recently turned 20 a couple of weeks ago, and now I'm feeling the impact slowly but surely.
Exactly.
Just like, wow, adulthood is slowly like.
Oh my gosh.
It's like the speed of a tractor, but like it's coming, and I just.
And you want all those adult things. You're like, I want mail, and I want to put my name on a house, and then when you get it, you're like, oh my gosh, I don't want any mail, any mortgage, like. So funny.
It's like finally going to a buffet and then you finally like get all this access to all these different food sources and you just stack your plate way too high and you're just like, now I gotta down all these calories.
And you feel miserable. Yeah.
Precisely.
I feel the same way. Like I recently moved into a house with some roommates and like it's not like apartments or dorms where like now I'm getting like water bills, electric bills and all that stuff. And I'm like, adulting.
Welcome to adulthood.
I know. I was lucky when I bought my property. It was the only place that I could get, I think, getting paid like, $36,000. So I was like, cool, something under 100,000 done. And I happened to just get a roommate, so it offset the mortgage. So, I mean, I essentially haven't paid for a place to stay for the entire time. So yeah, That was helpful. That was really stress relieving.
So I'm guessing that's also like one of the key things that ultimately tied into your position too, right? Like in the
Yeah.
sense of like trying to find a position, because obviously pay is very important. We definitely want to have like six-figure salaries. Like that's the goal. That's living the dream. But like, was that the mortgaging like one of your also key incentives for like choosing your career path, or like what set that apart from like maybe any other benefits that might be offered in any position?
I would say my home, how that played a role was, um, I guess like knowing that I could only qualify for so much, and then trying to think what else, how that helped a lot. I think just knowing that I can't go rent anywhere. Like I can afford
Mhm.
anything more than that. You know what I mean? So I think that was
Definitely.
a role. But I had lost my train of thought on earlier what you were saying.
No,
So.
absolutely. That definitely helps to address it. But yeah, no, having a house is definitely a key benefit of working for a given position. So I totally know where you're coming from.
Oh, I remember. Okay, so
Okay.
so sorry. I had, when I was kind of soul searching, like, okay, what do I want to do? I want to do this once. I didn't want to be one of those people who's like changed jobs. Like I didn't, to me, outside looking in perspective wise, I was like, oh, I don't want to be one of those people, right? But
Right.
so I did a lot of soul searching. I found this article, I think on Forbes, which was like write down your core values of your strongest accomplishments you're super proud of, and then write down your failures, right? So
Right.
I had wrote down my three best accomplishments, and one was I paid off all my school loans by the time I was 22. I had bought my first house, right, the condo, 26, and I paid for my own braces in my car when I was like right out of high school. So, and then you're supposed to tie the theme together, and it was always something that was financially driven, that was satisfying today as well as satisfying in the future, right? So like
Mhm.
buying a house, yes, I get a place to stay today, but in the future I can also sell that, right? And then
Right.
same thing, all of them tied back. So then it helped me definitely put it against my career, my Myers-Briggs that I did at UTD, and that's how I got into finance. Yeah.
Absolutely. No, that's fantastic.
So I know you were talking a lot about your lifestyle a second ago too. So you're talking about financial freedom and just what
Mm-hmm.
I guess Northwestern Mutual has brought for you. So
Mm-hmm.
just tell us like what's the day to day with you? Like how do you enjoy your I guess freedom of time, especially with you saying that Northwestern Mutual compared to the 180 Fit, you have a lot more free time. So just tell us about that.
Yeah, you have the ability to control your schedule so much when you're a personal trainer, but you're usually it's the times that people are free, right?
Mhm.
Versus as a financial advisor, you have more time. You're essentially kind of like a doctor. Your schedules are set, and clients meet you in those hours. So sometimes if I want to work late, I'll service California clients or Hawaii clients, or if I'm out of state, like I'm in a different time zone, I might service those clients better. You can stack your schedule however you want. Like you can be Monday through Thursday, or I can get off whenever I want, but you do reap what you sow, right? So in the beginning, I would say with any job, you're going to work hard, right?
Mhm.
So I front loaded a lot of that hard work because I felt like for me, I was starting from scratch again. Um, so initially I was working really long hours, but again, I'm an early bird. I'm a type to work really hard to reap the benefits on the latter half. So now my lifestyle is a little bit more lax on, I don't take meetings after a certain time. I don't work weekends at all. So I made that commitment to myself when I changed careers because I had worked weekends, holidays, nights for 10 years prior, right? So I made that commitment to myself, and you just set your own boundaries work style wise. So I just go with the times of day that is in my highest ability. So in the morning I do a lot of building the plans. I'll do a lot of anything that requires paperwork or detailed oriented stuff in the morning where my mind's fresh. But early morning I'll spend studying, getting another credential, or taking time for myself or a workout or something. And then I'll hit the office maybe 7 or 8 o'clock at this time now, but not in the beginning. In the beginning, I was here at like 6:30,
Right.
and then I just kind of Fridays I work kind of some Fridays now at this point now, but everybody's lifestyle is different. Whatever your financial picture is, you may want to make a lot more, where might want to make 7 days or 5 days a week working, or seven, whatever you want to do, you can control. Yeah, that's what I liked about it. So that helps in answer
Definitely.
your question.
No, yeah,
Yeah.
because I'm in a similar. I'm not in finance, but I actually work in sales, which is very similar to the reap what you sow. You
Mm-hmm.
basically reap what you put in. So if you want to work all 7 days, you can, and you can
Yeah.
make this much. But say you want to have some flexibility, go for it. But you just got to know you're not going to make what you were going to make if you were going to work that days.
Well,
So
or you could just have better prospective or differently financially sound prospective clients, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think it's just like more or less the philosophy of like, you know, you just have an elephant in front of you, right? And it's just a matter of like, you can choose to like eat a lot of the elephant like at one point in time, you know, or you can just like feel free to like break it up piece by piece. But like as long as you're like taking the full workload on for you to ultimately succeed, I think that's ultimately the determiner for someone's prosperity within a business field. But another funny thing that because you were mentioning this earlier about like the idea of like working out and like making sure that it find balances with like your business endeavors and things of that nature, your day-to-day routines. I actually heard this really interesting quote. I don't know exactly the source of this quote, but it's definitely something that's kind of stuck by me and things of that nature. And I just kind of wanted to get your input on it, Tina, in the sense that I think it came from this one novel that I read back when I was in like early high school. And it was talking about how there was three elements of life that you ultimately had to balance out. There was your scholar life, your social life, and your sleep, and they said you could only choose two of the three. So I guess I just wanted to get like your daily input on that in terms of like, is there a capability of being able to have all three, or is there like give and take when trying to balance out that triangulation of factors?
Yeah, I've actually heard similar concept to that, but it was five. It was like family, friends, religion, sleep, and work.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
And I am a big believer on just like it's like a pendulum, like it's a seesaw or a pendulum, right? I don't know that saying, whatever I'm trying to think
Yeah.
about. But it's never you can't be like all 10 and all forces. I kind of feel like, I feel like it's a balance at that given moment in time,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Because I was just kind of curious of like your beliefs in the sense of like maybe like individuals wearing themselves thin in terms of things that they decide to kind of take on, or if there is such a thing as too much that you can do to the point where there is only 24 hours in a day for you to invest your time in certain projects. So I was just kind of like wanting to get your perspective in the idea of like what would be your key advice in the sense of helping to balance your time and help to make the most of every single minute of every single day.
Yeah, that's a good question. So when I was younger, I would work 7 days a week thinking like, oh, this is better for me to work all the time and be busy all the time. And it really eats into your mental status, right? So I
Right.
almost feel like I fell into like a bit of a depression state. So I would say for sure take at least, don't work 7 days a week is kind of like personal, like, if you're doing like a passion project on your seventh day, that's totally different, right?
Right.
Because this might be y'all's passion project, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I would say take time to yourself and your thoughts. So whether it's an outlet of exercise or vacation or a book that's like not for school in specific, or maybe listening to a podcast like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
These are going to be outlets for you to relieve your mental state, or spending time with friends. Anything that's going to just help you just take a little mental break. I'm a big believer in that now that I'm older. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Trent, being a member currently of the college field, what would you say are some of the activities that you indulge yourself in on a day-to-day basis?
So I do like to work out and stuff like that. Getting a good lift in really always helps with stress.
Right.
And I guess the occasional run, I'm not the biggest in the cardio, even though I do play rugby for the school and all that. So
Cool.
I do have to keep up with that. But
Right.
yeah, definitely that. The occasional YouTube video, podcast works wonders. And sometimes not even doing anything with that time besides even just getting an extra 2 hours of sleep or something like that, going to bed early or sleeping in, depending on how the schedule works, just does wonders for the mental health. Because when you're balancing work and school, it can just get very mentally draining, I feel like, especially for me. I've realized over the recent years and months, just as the older I get, the more stress I put on myself. I just need to find ways to outlet that without letting it kind of break who I am as a person.
I would also add, like, don't identify where those areas, if you feel that drained, it could be from people, it could be from the subject matter. Maybe this is not your sweet subject major and you're just pressing a square into a circle, you know what I mean? Or that relationship is just not working out. So just make sure you're identifying those points as well.
But yeah, no, I absolutely know what you guys are talking about in the sense of like helping to find a passion or a hobby that definitely helps to indulge yourself in. For example, my passion that I actively pursue is acting, and I've been able to kind of help to pursue that in a number of different outlets. Not only am I mainly participating in like the UTD theater program, but I've also been able to find outlets such as I have a current job at this place called the Murder Mystery Company, where we actually do these like live and well now virtual Zoom shows, where we actually are able to complete this activity where someone like will die, and then it's the job of everyone else to kind of figure out the motive and the opportunity to try and deduce who did it, in like a little like a very mystery type of format where everyone's on the edge of their seats the entire time, and I get to play like the role of detective, and it's definitely a good change of pace from like doing accounting by day and like putting on a fedora and like holding up a notepad taking notes by night. You know what I mean? It's
I've
definitely
always wanted to do that.
it's actually like really accessible. I don't mean to plug this by any means whenever I talk about it, but
No.
it's certainly a really fun outlet, especially because we're approaching Halloween and things like that. The demand has skyrocketed in recent weeks.
What's funny is I actually was like really wanting I was just thinking for a job opportunity. I really wanted somebody who was wanting to pursue acting. So let me chat with you on the side.
Absolutely. Okay, this is turning into a networking intervention. I'm loving this. I'm loving this immensely. But that's actually phenomenal. And so, kind of going along that same lines you were mentioning earlier, Tina, about how like the Myers-Briggs was definitely something influential in helping you to kind of decide your career path and everything that you were going down. And that obviously was supplied in a lot of different outlets, such as like freshman seminars and like business basics and things of that nature. What would you say are like some other resources that you've taken advantage of like at UTD in order to heighten yourself and be able to take on the career that you're pursuing now?
Yeah, you mean at the time or after the fact?
With both during and after.
Okay. So at the time, I was I'm a really good student. I'm probably not the best test taker, to be really honest with you.
Mhm.
So I always took advantage of, study hall time. Like I swear, he was my favorite international business teacher. I swear he was like Czechoslovakian. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. I don't know why. Dr. Watson was in communications. He was always really responsive, like on LinkedIn. He was super helpful. I always just went to the counseling department probably a lot because I had a lot of trouble finding like the direction of what I wanted to be when I grew up, because to me like personal training at the time was just kind of like a job I did in college, right? So I also went to the gym all the time, which we actually had a really good gym back in the day too, I'm not gonna lie. It's probably even better now. I'm trying to think what else. So after the fact, I definitely utilize the giving department. So I'm a scholarship provider at JSOM now. I implemented it last year. So I had a lot of, I think, pain points with working multiple jobs while I was going to school and community college at the same time. So I wanted to relieve that stress off of someone in the School of Business as long as they're working as well, right? That they'll be provided a scholarship for eternity. So I work a lot with the giving department there, and I think I've did a couple business panels. So those are kind of the resources that I take advantage of now. And I always try to, any opportunity I can give back, I always really try to build that network up. I really want UTD to have a strong, like a stronger presence here. And so I'm kind of like, come on, underdog, like we can do it,
Right, absolutely.
So I know you use those resources, but I guess so, or maybe a bit of a lighter side for more students. What organizations, if any, were you a part of during your time at UT Dallas?
Okay, so I'm Vietnamese, right? And I was part of the Filipino Association. They were just at the time more involved with athletic stuff, and that was like my outlet, and it was like my commonality with people, like to bond with. So I did the Phil. It's called, I think, Good Phil. It's super fun. You don't have to be obviously Filipino to be in the organization because I was Vietnamese, but they just wanted me because I was like good at sports too, as well as like got along with all of them. And I keep in touch with all of them still to this day. I will say those organizations are super helpful. I don't think they're as what were back then as expanded as they are now, but that was probably one of the more active ones at the time. So that was probably the one I took advantage of the most that I'm still friends with today.
Definitely. And would you say like your involvement in FSA was as crucial to your decision of becoming in diving further into your current position, as well as like JSOM's influence, or what one would you say had more of like an advocacy for you to like pursue not only your day-to-day business routine, but also for you to like delve into like your personal growth elements and things of that nature? What would you say? How did FSA help to enhance your JSOM community?
Yeah, I think it just to help maybe enhance my outreach. So like when you get to the career, you need to meet multiple people, right? And so I think it was really helpful from the standpoint of you've got to meet new clients, new prospects, new referrals, right? And it was really helpful in that sense because they knew me on a personal level back then. So I would say that's probably the best resource.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I guess branching out from more of a day-to-day type of thing and outside of, UT Dallas and where you are now at Northwestern is, we did have COVID. I guess we still do have COVID going on. So how's that impacted your, I guess, work at Northwestern Mutual?
Mm-hmm.
And are things somewhat going back to normal? Because I know you are in the office right now. So what's been the whole protocols with that, and what's its prognosis towards the future as things are sort of dropping off?
Yeah, so we actually didn't have too bad of a transition from a standpoint of virtual meetings because we work with a lot of clients out of state as well. I would say, and I think it helps a lot of clients relieve stress of like finding the building and getting lost and their kids, like stuff like that. So, and for me being a woman and looking younger, like you guys look young when you start your job, right? It definitely helps you dive right into to business rather than being like, how was the weather? Did you get lost? Like you definitely, this is not a date, we're talking about business, you get a calendar invite, you get a confirmation. So it helps from that standpoint. And then we are just really trying to be a resource regardless if we're, able to financially, you benefit us. It's really not about that. It's really being a servant to the community. So a lot of people have lost their jobs at this time. We're offering our services from, hey, if you want to, what are some ways that you can get money creatively from the things that you have because you've lost your compensation for multiple months now? What are some creative strategies? So it's a lot of just being a servant to the community. And then you have other people that they're in a position where they're getting a new job. They want to know what to do with their old 401k or accepting a job. They want to understand their work benefits, and we'll walk through some things like that. Or just, hey, should you take this job? Is it equivalent or better financially? Or is this the best thing that maybe come along at this time? Like, what do you think? We'll talk through those avenues. And the student loan, like all that stuff, we're helping with that right now just to be a servant to the community, helping people efficiently work through that. What's the best strategy for them now? So hopefully that helps.
Yeah, no, for sure. And while maybe a lot of things haven't changed necessarily in the business film, you've obviously have taken on a lot more projects since coronavirus has taken effect. For those of you that don't know, the viewers at home, Tina actually has started her very own podcast called Dear Millennials. You can follow it at Dear Millennials00. Link will be in the description, where it basically helps to kind of talk about elements of entrepreneurship, personal fitness, how business professional growth can be expanded and intertwined with all these different elements that she talks about on her podcast. And you also have a co-host with you as well.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, my co-host is Anna Ostrowski over at Henry Schein. She's the sales director there. And the kind of IGTV, YouTube podcast, what it will develop into was really out of the goodness of our hearts that we really loved learning about people's stories and the genuine nature of why they do their job. And so it was like really hitting those people that would do their job regardless if they got paid or not. And the concept really is to give back to kind of like the millennial generation. What are things you wish you knew then? Just like we talked about self-care a couple weeks ago, and it was just like you delay that because you're like, oh my God, I got to pay all my school loans. I got to work like 5 jobs. Like there's no time off, and you stress yourself, right? So it talks about, hey, take some time out. Student loans, they will stay there. There is a way out. And just to, I don't know, have you live your, not sacrificing today so much for tomorrow, right? Having that fine balance of that. So that's really what the IG kind of mini interviews are for. Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. And based off of my last count, and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong here, but you guys have completed about 11 episodes so far, correct? So you guys are well into the process?
Yeah, we've been doing batch videoing. So we have a number that we still need to edit, and I don't know exactly the number. I just would have to go to the episode, but we have a whole bunch like on backload because for us, we want to keep it a passion project. We don't want to make it feel like work, and so through the holiday season, we're gonna take a time off of physically like meeting in person and stuff like that. So we're gonna launch those between now and then.
That's fantastic. So is there gonna be like any upcoming like festive episodes or like a theme for like Halloween or like Thanksgiving or Christmas coming up?
That's a good question. We try to hit things according to what's going on in the environment. So one of the ones was like, the housing market has been great. So we had a mortgage loan officer on. We've been hearing like a lot of COVID, like your relationship. So we had a divorce lawyer on, right?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we have one that's coming on that's about, she's a therapist. And we want to touch on some of those touchy subjects too. Like I really want like a relationship coach or like a gynecologist to talk about like stuff like that, or sex therapist, like some cool topics that, I think as a younger person, you're thinking like, these are taboo topics to talk about. But as you get older, you really tap into like those things. So right now we have Susie Batiz, which is the founder of Poopery, that will be on. It's a $500 million company, locally owned, women-based, self-grown. She had launched a live course called Alive OS, and it's really talking about like, you're just like, what are you telling yourself in your mind, like all the or trauma that you've gone through that you don't think of, right? That's holding you back from your next level you. And so we're going to have her on, so that's going to be exciting. Trying to think what other just like whatever may be going in the environment that time, we try to just place the batch of, we'll pick one of our videos and we'll place it at that moment. Definitely. So we just had someone in marketing because, everybody's had to position their business from in-person to virtual. So we had her come on, I think last week or the week before, talking about how do you market your business online. And then this week we have someone talking about, she went through a job change during COVID. Like, how do you stay networked on LinkedIn? How do you still look good on a Zoom interview? Like things like that. So we're really trying to be applicable to today's environment.
Definitely.
So with all the episodes you've done, even maybe including some of the ones in the backload, what has been the biggest thing that's really resonated with you that y'all have talked about on your podcast so far?
Yeah, I would say an underlying theme on a lot of them that I feel like have a really good balance was talking about taking that time to yourself, and whether it be the morning where you just, maybe you read a scripture, or maybe you listen to a podcast in the morning, or maybe you do exercise, just taking like a little bit of time to yourself before you begin your day. That's been kind of a theme. And then one of my favorite ones was a plastic surgery client in Frisco. He just opened a plastic surgery clinic. They have a business that's family owned, like husband and wife. So for me, like my fun takeaway, my dream would be, to have a relationship that has a lot of respect on both sides. Like he's her biggest fan, she's his biggest fan, and they know like their sweet spots. They don't try to over trump each other, and it's really nice. And they have they balance being husband and wife, they balance being partners at work, they balance being parents, and they balance like you have your you time too, right? It's really nice. So it was just, that one was a really nice takeaway from one of the podcasts as well.
Absolutely. And I guess kind of going forward, where do you see the direction of your podcast like heading in the sense of like what type of messages are you guys beginning to spread more? Is there like a certain theme that you guys are realizing more, the more that you like add titles to your guys' podcasts and help to kind of like create them on a broad outreach? So like, is there like something that you're encompassing more, as well as I have another question in the sense of how you're being able to help create a more spur about it, how you're able to get more attention towards it? Is there any like other like outlets that you're using? Is there any like preferred method that you use? I definitely want to hear your input on this.
So I would say we really just started it as a passion project. Like we didn't, hey, we're going to make money off of this by any means. If that happens, great. In the direction of it, that's amazing. We really started it just out of fun, creativity, and getting that message out. So our goal was really to get out some topics that we wish we knew when we were younger, or we talked about, right? One of them was we have a hemp oil company that's like a very taboo topic that talks about, like, she had, I think, anxiety, depression, or something like that. And it's, you don't want to talk about that stuff because you just feel like it's bad to say that you have. So I think really we'd like to touch on those taboo topics, things that you wish you knew. And we are veering in the YouTube and official podcast route, right? It is kind of like a fun creative outlet to learn as we go at the same time. Like, like I would love you guys to be like, hey, this is how you edit stuff better. Like, that'd be great. We're huge fans of like learning from other people, and nor do we judge like, oh, how long you've been doing it. We're just huge advocates of everyone else,
Definitely.
There's never not a time to learn, basically.
For sure. No, that's actually really great to hear.
So as things, we've been at this, I'm gonna edit that out. I'm gonna reset. So as time begins to wind out here, any wise words you'd like to give to the JSOM community before we go today?
Like in regards to school or just like life
advice, school, whatever would be the best piece of advice you think would be perfect for, I guess, students our age or even incoming into the school that you give for them?
I would say, like, don't be all or nothing. I feel like people are always all or nothing. Like, they're like, I'm young, so I can just do this later. And then they wake up and they're like 35 with kids and baby, right? And then they talk to me and they're like, man, I wish I would have saved earlier, right? There's never any amount is a good amount to just start early, right? It's the number one piece of advice I'd give from a financial standpoint. From a life balance standpoint, I would definitely say travel, and I think that's a common one. So I just think get out there, get cultured, be open-minded, be curious. It doesn't hurt. You never know in this small world of Dallas who you're going to meet again. So treat everybody with respect and an understanding nature. Like if they were mean to you that day, maybe just something happened right before and just don't take it personally. I think that's really hard. I think as a young person is not to take it personally. I've had to personally deal with that. As well as from a fitness standpoint, I would say, like from I guess the female thing, you are maybe as a female you're a little bit more self-conscious about it. I'm like, girl, you look good now, just like own it. And so be you, be authentic, and I mean everything works out. I truly believe that.
That's fantastic. Well, thank you so much for joining us here, Tina. It's been fantastic having you. For those of you that are interested, you can go and take a look at her podcast on Instagram. You can go ahead and find that at Dear Millennial00. The link will be in the description below as well. She's doing some amazing work over there. We definitely want to help our fellow JSOM community. So we're once again very thankful to have you here today.
If you need a financial advisor, you can email me, tina.thoang@nm.com.
Fantastic.
Or just my website.
Absolutely. That will also be included in the description as well.
Perfect. Thanks, guys. Thank you so much.
And thank you, JSOM community. Stay happy, stay healthy, and stay professional. This is your co-host, Trent DeStefano, signing off with
your co-host, Troy Murray, and we'll see you all next time on the Parliament Podcast.